Hi there, it's Donna from Taffy Crafting. We're on day 2 of lockdown at the moment, and I've been working from home the last couple of days, and I'm just trying to adapt to that. I've not found it as easy as I thought I would. It's quite difficult to stay focused and motivated without just wanting to just get on and do something much nicer. But I've done my day's work today, and I thought I'd do a bit of crafting, and I had an order arrive today, just a little order, and this is what came today. So I bought Pacific Point. This is an ink it's a colour that is, every time I place an order, I think, oh, I must order that, don't order it. And it's just a beautiful blue colour. I've got some card as well, so I ordered the Brights in A4, and I've got to remember what's in there. There's a yellow one, I'm not quite sure what that is. Flirty Flamingo, there's a blue there, I think that's Coastal Cabana. It's Granny Apple Green, Mango Melody, Bermuda Bay, I think that is, Gorgeous Grape. That is, can't think of the name of it, Melon Mambo, I think that is. There's Pacific Point, and I think that's Poppy Parade. So really beautiful bright colours. So I went with that, and I want to use as many of those as I can, although I don't have all of the inks for those. But I just think this is a beautiful colour. And I got the Granny Apple Green as well, and then just for good measure, Gorgeous Grape. You tend to use the same colours all the time, and so I just wanted some fresh new colours. So that came along with a card and a nice fresh pack of Whisper White cardstock. So that means I'm going to get in and make some cards. Now, the other thing I did, because my order, I think when I put the order together, it was just under £45. I thought, I'm not missing out on one of the last celebrations. So I went for some Gorgeous Grape ribbon. What ribbon do they call this? Mini striped ribbon. So I went for that as well. So what I've been doing is just some fussy cutting, but also some aqua painting as well, and I'm going to show you what I've done with that. This isn't the greatest card. I've tried to stick it down and it's gone a little bit crooked. So for this video, I'm going to just take a little bit more care and show you how I'm going to put that together. This doesn't necessarily have to be a thank you card. It can be a birthday card, sympathy card, any card you like card really. But I'm just going to show you how it's put together. So if you've just stumbled across me and you wonder what I do, I'm a Stampin' Up demonstrator in the UK. I'm based in Wales, and I just make simple projects. There's a lot of demonstrators out there that make very complicated projects. Mine are nice and simple. So if you are a beginner crafter and you want some simple projects to make, then hit the subscribe button, ring the bell, and you'll be notified each time I put a video out here on my channel. So without further ado, let's put this together. So I'm going to start off with a basic card base using some A4 Whisper White cardstock. So I do have quite a few people that watch me from the US. Your A4 cardstock is a different size to ours. I think the length of yours is 8.5 by 11.5 or something like that, 11 3/4. I can't remember now. Ours is slightly different. So I'm just going to cut this at the halfway point, which is 5 7/8. And because our A4 is 8 1/4 along the short side, I'm going to score this at 4 1/8. And that gives me my card base. So I want to put a nice border around that. So I take some Pacific Point, and I'm going to trim this to 5 5/8 to 3 7/8, and that gives a nice 1/4 inch border all the way around. And that's going to sit on there like that, and then I'm going to put another white layer on there, and that white layer will be 5 5/8 by 3 5/8. So that's going to sit on there like that. And I've got some glue around somewhere. There it is. Getting quite organised in my craft room at the moment. And I'm just going to put some glue on the back of that. And stick that to the blue card. And the reason that the last one was crooked was that I put it on with tear and tape, and so it was a bit wonky. So we've got that, and then I'm going to mount that on my card base. I just love the blue against the white. I think it's really, it just makes the blue absolutely pop. So because I spent a tad over £45, I didn't want to spend any more than I needed to, because who knows what's going to happen with all of the horrible stuff. I really hope that you're watching this a year on from where we are now. We're March 2020. We're in the middle of the coronavirus pandemic, and the point that we're at, it's just only going to get worse. I try not to just kind of think of the bad stuff, but that is where we are. So hopefully when you're watching this, if you're watching it a year on, you think we got to the other side of it. And that's all I can do just to kind of get us through this. I think we will get the other side of this. So there's my card base. I'm not going to dwell on it. And because I spent more than £45, I chose the lovely Lily Pad photopolymer stamp set. And this is lovely, absolutely lovely. I don't know why I didn't get this before. So I've taken this stamp and this stamp. So let me get my Lily Pad. Well, I took the Lily Pad stamp, and I stamped that into Pacific Point ink, and I stamped that onto some Whisper White cardstock. And then this is what I did next. If I can find my ink, there it is. So what I did, I squeezed, just by doing that, giving a little bit of a squeeze, and it put some ink over to the other side of the ink pad. And I took an aqua painter. This has got water in it. I don't squeeze the water out. I think it might just kind of start to drip down a little bit. I don't know. So that's quite moist. And so I dip that into the blue. And what I want to do, what I've got here, is that where we've got these lines here is where I've put the darker ink. Because what I want it to do is to gradually get lighter as it gets to the end of the petal. So I'm just taking this. I'm not an artist. Absolutely promise you, I am not an artist, not at all. There are no right and wrong ways of doing this at all. So I'm finding this a really lovely way to just chill and relax. Forget about what's going on in the world just for a little while. And I'm just going to just dipping that into the more intense part of the ink. And I'm just running that along with there's no massive skill going on here. I'm just being careful. So where that colour's quite dark there, I'm just up each of these lines. And then, just where it's still a bit dark, I'm just going to, just at the bottom, just with short strokes there, And you can experiment with this. See what works best for you. So at the bottom of each of these petals, keeping the colour relatively dark. Keeping all the strokes in the same direction. And quite light strokes because you don't want to make this paper this card rather too wet. So just at the bottom of each of these petals, and then just keep loading up your brush with a bit more colour because we want the darker blue at the bottom of these petals. Like that. What have I missed? No, I think I've got them all apart from that bit there. So I've got the more intense colour on the inside of those petals. So then just going to move that colour away. So this colour is lighter. And so as you start to just wash the ink away from that, it becomes much lighter. And then I just want the top of these petals to be a lighter blue, just because I just want to give each of these petals some texture and some dimension. So the lighter ink is just going to be at the top of the petal. And where everywhere is so quiet at the moment because there's so little traffic on the road, the noises you can hear outside, I can hear an owl hooting outside every now and again. I can hear cats outside having a bit of a screech at each other. It is eerily quiet. But I have found that life is just a little bit calmer. I'm not rushing to get out to work in the morning. I haven't got that horrible hour commute on the way home. Right, I'm just filling in these last bits in now. There's been no kind of skill to this whatsoever. I've just been practicing this, and don't ever let anybody tell you, oh, you did that wrong. You do it how you want. Just finding these little bits of white that I've missed out. They are very, very light strokes that I'm putting on there. So that's what I've done with the actual lily flower itself. And all you need to do is just keep brushing that off, and then the colour comes off. And then I've got the lily pad, which is this one here. And I had it on a block and now it's gone. That's a bit weird. It's right in front of me. Oh my goodness, losing the plot. And I'm going to take Granny Apple Green, and you'll see I've done exactly the same with this. So just load up the block, load up the stamp rather onto the ink block. We've got that, and then I'm just going to do the same again. I'm just going to pick up the rest of that ink that I had on there on the last one I made. Now on the last one I made, I was trying to get kind of swirly stuff going on. It wasn't working. I think it's something I need to practice. Now lily pads are normally quite vibrant greens, but I wanted to keep this quite subtle. But I could have used I've got garden green ink here. Could have used that. Whenever I get new ink pads, it's like I've got to use them. So just filling in those little bits, and then you've got bits that have got more intense colour, bits that have got lighter colour, however you want. Let's put the top on that, put that on. Now the next thing that I'm going to do is fussy cut. I don't use dies a lot because my die cutting machine is always underneath my table in the box, and by the time I've got the die cutting machine out and I've die cut stuff and then I've put the die cutting machine away, it's actually quicker to fussy cut. So I've just cut in all the way around that. And I'm just going to neaten up that edge there like that. And even if you're not super neat at this, I promise you it doesn't show on your project. Some things are easier to fussy cut than others. You'll see in a second that this lily is a little bit tricky to fussy cut. So here we go. Let's see how quickly we can get this done. This is the way I like to fussy cut. It's only because my eyes are pretty shocking and I can't see, so I have to do it in little sections. And with this lily pad one, there's lots of sharp corners and sharp points, which makes it slightly easier. I'll go back and tidy up my points in a minute. And some of you might just want to push the video on a bit and wait to the point where I put the rest of this card together. Or you might find it quite therapeutic just to watch me fussy cut this. But if you ever heard the term fussy cutting before and wonder where it's come from, it's just literally something that's been stamped, or an image on, where I've come across it before is where I used to do a lot of patchwork and things. So fussy cut was to cut around an image on fabric. So that marks the halfway point. And if I wasn't putting this on video, I would be a lot neater with this. I'm just mindful that you don't need to be watching this really. Fussy cutting is also a good thing to do. You know, if you've just started out paper crafting, you don't want to buy a whole load of equipment and things, you know, fussy cutting is a great thing. And honestly, by the time I'd got my machine out, this would have been done. I lose dies as well. But if you have a die cutting machine, I've got a Sizzix Big Shot, and it is good for cutting stuff out. Especially if you have your die cutting machine out all the time. Right, I'm just trying to tidy up these little bits here and get them looking as nice as possible. That will do. For this project, that will do. So I've got that, and I've got my lily pad. So back to my card base. So I want to put this down here, just in the bottom left corner. I don't want it in the middle, kind of want it at the bottom left. Now, I've been using mini dimensionals today and I've run out. And you always get this border all the way around, and I'm actually going to use the border don't like to waste anything. And I'm just going to cut off a length of that and put that onto my lily pad. And I'm going to put that down there in the middle, down there towards the right hand side like that. And then I'm going to do the same with that. I have 2 bits for this. Put one at the top there. And then we'll put the lily right on top of that lily pad there. And I love using dimensionals. It just really gives it some dimension to that. Lastly, we are going to put a sentiment on this. So from the Magnolia, Good Morning Magnolia stamp set, there is a sentiment on there. I love that. I love the font of it. And I've got it on a block, on a way too big block, but that's where it is. And I'm going to get my Pacific Point ink. Load that up with ink and then just line that up at the top. And there we have it. A little bit of fussy cutting going on there, some aqua painting, and just a very simple understated card, just with a lovely pop of colour and a nice thank you card. So thank you for joining me. I hope you are all keeping well, keeping sane, staying safe and staying healthy. I'll be back again soon with another simple project for you to do. See you again. Bye bye.